June 1st, 2020. City Clerk Ed Norris, would you call the roll?
Mayor McClellan,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Here.
Councilmember Radner,
Here.
Councilmember Weiss,
McClellan. Here.
and Councilmember Edgar.
Everyone's here. We have a quorum. Before we approve the agenda, would you add an extra item, 12B, an ordinance allowing sidewalk sales to your agenda? And then we need a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, Burns and
Weiss.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Next, we have the consent agenda. These are routine items presented without discussion. They include regular council meeting minutes of May 18th, 2020, Arts and Cultural Diversity Commission minutes of December 12th, February 13th, Beautification Advisory Commission meeting minutes of February 18th, proposed change order number 1 in the amount of $354.13 to our benefit, and payment application number 2 in the amount of $202,988.62 to Mattioli Cement Company of Fenton, Michigan, for the 2019-20 miscellaneous concrete project M699. E, request to declare listed vehicles as surplus and sold by sealed bid, public auction, or disposal at the lowest expense to the city in accordance with regular city policy. E, Corridor Improvement Authority Board meeting minutes of February 20th, 2020. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
That's Weiss,
Second.
second by Burns. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimously passed. We don't have elected officials. There is a special presentation resolution declaring June 5th, 2020 to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of Oak Park. We are all wearing orange because although there is a COVID crisis and God knows a racial crisis, there is also this gun crisis that we need to continue to be aware of. So we need a motion to pass the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? In support or? All right, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. We don't have public hearings or communications, special licenses, or accounting reports. We are down to item 12 on the agenda. First reading of an ordinance to amend Chapter 82 Utilities of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Oak Park, Michigan by amending Section 82-313, determination setting the rates and charges to be imposed for the consumption and use of water and sewer services. Is there a motion to approve the first reading?
So moved.
That's Burns. And is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
What?
Weiss. Discussion. City Manager Tungate, do you have a summary for us?
Well,
Is
I
that
know,
separate?
I'm sorry, Madam Mayor.
Mhm.
Oh, I know we have our Deputy Finance Director, Jamin Winters, on the call with us and our Water Supervisor, Kevin Vanderwall as well. But this is our annual adjustment to the ordinance to reflect the rate change that we've recommended in the budget. I would also just note that you'll notice under the summary, under letter E, that we are now charging for the stormwater runoff that occurs. And we are going to be hosting a series of communications and a couple town halls with the general public to acclimate them to what this is going to mean for them specifically. Jamin or Kevin Vanderwall, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, but there's Jamin.
If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
I do have a question. And I don't know, Jamin, if you would know the answer to this. Under the sewage disposal rates, item 2, B, part B, there's a rates charge per pound of excess pollutant. What exactly are those pollutants? Is that something that we should be concerned about, or are we charging simply for the treatment? We're charging in order to be able to treat the water for those pollutants.
I believe those fees are actually, it's mainly a pass through, but Kevin, did you want to chime in on that? Or
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Yeah, what that is we do have one business in Oak Park that they have excess pollutants that run through the meter. And so that's handled by Great Lakes Water Authority, and they'll be doing the direct billing with them. Those are just charges associated with their excess pollutants that go through our sewers.
Okay, so those rates are set by Great Lakes Water Authority. We're just
Yes.
updating.
Yep, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments? We're ready for a vote. City Clerk?
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Edgar,
She's muted.
Councilmember Edgar,
She's muted.
can.
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes,
can you
yes.
unmute? There you go.
Thank you. Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
and Councilmember Weiss.
Yes.
Motion carried. There is an item B to pass an ordinance that allows sidewalk sales. Can we first get an approval of the first reading and then we'll get a discussion? Motion to approve?
So moved.
That's Burns, yes. And is there a second?
Second.
Was that Edgar?
Yes.
Okay. City manager, I wonder if you would explain this?
Yep, Madam Mayor. I know we have Director Maroney on the call. I'm going to ask her to help me out here, but this is basically an attempt to assist our business owners so they can maintain the 6 feet of spacing within their enclosed space, only that they can include some of that retail floor out into the sidewalk area.
Yeah, to add to that, you approved the business assistance package at last council meeting. There are some restrictions that were within our ordinances that we needed to revise in order to make that a possibility. So working with Courtney Krause, our city attorney, we needed to make some revisions. One is here tonight in front of you, and then the other one will be going to the Planning Commission on Monday night's evening. There were many restrictions that wouldn't allow us to do what we wanted to do, so we needed to make some changes to make that happen. I don't know if there's anything you want to add to this, Courtney?
No, I think you covered that, Kim. It's just a matter of making sure that the amendment that is currently being considered by zoning is consistent with the rest of the code of the ordinance.
Thank you.
This is part of the package to help our businesses that are struggling to survive the difficult times because of economic difficulties. So this is a nice way of reaching out. It's one of the many. Are we ready for a vote? City Clerk Norris?
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
And Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes.
Motion carried. We will get the second part of both of these at the next meeting in 2 weeks. City Attorney Courtney Kraus, do you have anything to add for the city attorney portion?
I do not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Manager Eric Tungate.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of council. Before I get into 14A, and I'm going to have Deputy Finance Director Jamin Winters assist me with 14A through C. Before I get into that, I wanted to take this opportunity. Many of you have heard about an incident that occurred recently regarding a fire at a home here on Troy Street in Oak Park. And, you know, there's not a day that goes by where I don't hear about one of the employees doing something great in the form of great public service for our residents and business owners. But I wanted to talk about this a little bit if I could, because I think this is such a substantial thing. I actually was on a phone call earlier today with one of our officers, the officer involved in this kitchen fire. This fire started, the individual is confined to a wheelchair, and the fire started when they were cleaning their oven in their kitchen. And this officer arrived on the scene and ran into the burning home and picked up the individual in the wheelchair and promptly got them out of the house and really saved their life. And when I called him this afternoon to talk him through it, I said, so tell me, you know, is this just a normal shift for you? And he started going into what had occurred on his shift that day. And what might amaze you, as it did me, is that this was just one of 2 lives he saved that day. Earlier that day, he had responded to a heroin overdose that he gave the patient, if you will, a Narcan dose and brought that individual back to life from a heroin overdose earlier in the day.
Wow.
In the same day. Even earlier than that, this officer, and this officer's name is Eric Sanders. Officer Eric Sanders is a 23-year veteran of our public safety department. Earlier in the day, earlier than the heroin overdose, he responded to an 80-year-old resident whose vehicle had stalled and ran out of gas, and took her to a gas station, filled up her tank, and sent her on her way a happy customer. All in a day's work, as he said to me earlier today. But I wanted to point this out because I thought to myself, you know, when I think I have hard days, I think about Officer Eric Sanders in our public safety department, who just in a day's work, as he said, saved 2 lives, helped out somebody's grandmother, and went about his business. And the only reason that we know about it is because somebody on the fire scene recorded him racing down out of his vehicle into the house to save this person's life. There's acts of heroism going on every single day, especially during the coronavirus crisis in a lot of our areas of the city government. So I just want to say thank you, Officer Eric Sanders, for all that you do for us. It is so much appreciated. And thank you to whomever posted that on social media and had such nice things to say. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Deputy Finance Director Jamin Winters for 14A, please.
Thank you, City Manager, members of the council. So 14A and 14B are procedural. It is let me scroll up here, sorry. 14A is to receive and file a quarterly investment report for period ending 3/31/2020. And 14B is to receive and file the quarterly financial report for period ending 3/31/2020. either of you or any of you have any questions on those, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
This is the investment report that we received a report on a couple of weeks ago.
I believe so.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Madam Mayor, if I could point out this, I think there's one thing that I took note of in this, and it's that, you know, this report is as of March 31, so it does not yet reflect the falling markets, if you will. So it's pretty much in line with previous quarter from the previous year, or the same quarter for the previous year. So we'll see what happens in our next investment report, but I'm sure that'll be a lot different.
Yeah, yes, to add to City Manager Tungate's comments, the next reports will be the interesting ones. And obviously we're not looking forward to those, but these reports will look pretty standard. Okay, and then 14C, if nobody else has any questions on 14A or B, this is actually a resolution to, as soon as I get to it, sorry, a resolution approving the requested budget amendment number 2020-3 for period ending 3/31/20. This budget amendment, there will be another one following actually at the next council meeting, but this budget amendment specifically deals with reductions that we're seeing in revenue from state sales tax collections, which are obviously reduced due to the stay-at-home period, and then also revenue reductions due to a lot of the recreation programs being canceled. We're also showing savings from the furlough program that was started on April 28th. So you'll see reductions of our salaries and wages.
And this too, we discussed about a month or so ago, correct?
I'm sorry, Jamin.
Go ahead.
Mayor Pro Tem, we had discussed this in concept, but these are the actual amendments. This is a little bit improved from that discussion that we had in terms of the numbers being a little bit better. But to get through this and still have an almost $4 million general fund balance is nothing short of a miracle, in my opinion.
Are we, so the basic like takeaway from this though, I mean, there are specific line items are being amended, but this goes back to what we discussed in budgeting sessions, that we are $374 from the general fund we had to dip into because of COVID related costs and expenses and reductions in revenue, essentially, correct?
Right, and there are the adjustments, the reductions of the revenue, and then of course how we combated that with the furloughs to help offset those.
Thank you.
Jamin, can I just throw this out there? It's safe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's safe to say that there may be other adjustments related to this too, though. We're not out of the woods yet.
Yeah, that is correct. We'll definitely have another adjustment coming next budget, the next council meeting. Those will be more specifically related to tying up for the year end that's coming up, and adjustments for the tax revenue. But there will most certainly be other adjustments that we need to make when the picture gets clearer and we have more information.
So we have a resolution approving the requested budget amendment 2020-3 for period ending 3/31/20. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, that's Weiss and Burns. Is there further discussion? Roll call, please.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
and Councilmember Edgar.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, I'd like to request Director Steve Cooper for 14D, please.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, City Manager and Council. Before you, I have traffic control order number 160, section 124. And this stemmed from recently an anonymous resident brought forth a parking complaint to our technical and planning department regarding the cul-de-sac at Avon and Piercing Street. When citizens park their vehicles on the street in the cul-de-sac, it partially blocks the driveway of residents, not allowing them to exit. Engineering technicians indicated it also makes trash pickup difficult, street sweeping, and other forms of street maintenance difficult if vehicles are parked in this area. Due to these concerns and the very small lot frontage, the engineering department requested that the Traffic Improvement Association, also known as TIA, conduct an analysis of the location. As requested, TIA examined the suitability of the on-street parking in front of 15261 Pearson and 21801 Avon. The investigation involved a review of the on-site photographs and measurements from aerial images within Google Earth. The photographs showed encroachments of the driveways, assessing the two properties with vehicles positioned along the curb in the cul-de-sac. It appears that parking would not be feasible without blocking driveways, which is in violation of Michigan Motor Vehicle Code MCL 257.674. Measurements taken off the aerial imagery shows 10 to 13 feet of spacing between successive driveways with an average vehicle length of 16 feet, which confirms that there would not be adequate curb space for parallel parking. Although signage is not required, if parking violations are occurring, it's recommended to post no parking signs. And this should include the stretch north from 21801 Avon to the east driveway of 15281 Pearson Street. So I come before council today with a recommendation that you approved and adopt traffic control order number 160, section 1.24, posting no parking signs from the driveway north of 21801 Avon to the driveway east of 15281 Pearson Street.
Is there a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Second.
That's Solomon Radner. And who was first?
Julie's motion, I seconded.
Julie's got.
I have a
Madam
question.
Mayor?
Are there questions for the director? Yes, Councilmember Weiss.
I discussed this with city manager earlier, but he referred me to you, Director Cooper, to ask you this directly because he said you would know. There are many. I looked at the specific cul-de-sac, Google Earth and Google Street View, and it is a little bit different version of most cul-de-sacs in Oak Park, but it seems to me that the spacing between the driveways is pretty similar to several other cul-de-sacs that exist within the city. And so I'm wondering, are we looking at other cul-de-sacs as well? Or are we kind of just like waiting if there are complaints and addressing them at that time?
Actually, this is the first one that it's ever come to my attention. And like I said, it came via the technical planning department. I know the cul-de-sacs, like you said, some of them are kind of shaped a little differently with different lengths and size dimensions. And I am not currently aware of any issues that we've had related to similar parking conditions. This was kind of a unique one. I could not sit here and 100% affirmatively affirm that these dimensions are the same as the other ones, but I did not have anything in place at this point to go out and kind of survey like all of the cul-de-sacs. Like I said, this was the first one that's been brought to my attention since I've been a director. And like I said, I was kind of a little bit surprised to find out the dimensions were as stated.
I have a question.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Yes, now the homes on Avon and Pearson, where we will be putting the no parking sign, do they have adequate parking space in the driveway? I'm assuming since we've gotten complaints that the cars that are parked belong to people who are visiting them in that area. So
I would say, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
So my question is, once we stop allowing them to park on the street, does the homes that are affected have a lengthy enough driveway where instead of parking in front of the house, this person could park in the driveway instead?
Yes, the homes in that area, like I said, depending on how many people they're staying there. Now, if you got multiple cars, obviously you could park 3 cars and you could still, be in violation because you'd be parking blocking the sidewalks. But each one of those homes have adequate space to park a vehicle. At least one, I would say probably a couple in the driveway. As far as other parking that may be required for a guest or additional family that may be staying at the residence, now they would probably have to either, park somewhere else. I'm assuming either on Avon or on Pearson Street, but they wouldn't be allowed to park in the cul-de-sac. But just to answer your original question, yes, those homes are equipped with enough parking space to park a vehicle.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may too, when I looked at the image, it's not like a cul-de-sac where you drive down a big circle and you drive out again. It's like on a corner. And so from looking at it, it looks like a pretty small area that would be blocked off for no parking, where people could park if they had to, like 2 or 3 houses down. It doesn't seem like they'd have to park very far away.
That's correct.
I have a question,
Yes.
Madam Mayor.
Councilmember Edgar.
Director Cooper, just out of curiosity, when did this first come to your attention? I'm just wondering about, how much time it takes the city to respond to these kinds of requests from residents.
The request came to my attention via the Technical and Planning Department, and I can tell you the Traffic Improvement Association, I'm looking at the report, it's dated May 18th, and I don't see a specific date as far as when the original complaint originated. Usually, like I said, we're very prompt as far as jumping on those complaints and referring them to TIA if it's something that we feel is warranted. And depending on, how backed up Traffic Improvement Association, their schedule is, would pretty much determine how quickly they'd be able to actually complete a survey. My experience is for the ones that I've had previously, you're looking, I say anywhere from maybe 4 to 6 weeks before you would get a response back from TIA.
Okay, thank you.
City Manager.
Yes.
Be specific on that request. We did respond really quick on it, and Director Cooper is correct. Is it a lot depends on how much work TIA has, but we received that complaint on May 12th.
And how soon will the no parking signs go up?
Once the traffic control order is approved, and that, like I said, that information, I'll submit that information to the Department of Public Works, the Assistant City Manager, Kevin Yee. I'm sure he will see to it that probably as soon as they can get the signage made, and I couldn't tell you the exact time. He could give you a more specific, but they're pretty quick as far as getting those signs erected.
Yeah, it'd probably be a week or two, just depending on how we're doing with, right now they're geared up for painting, and they're painting crosswalks and signs and things like that. So it'd be a week or two to get those in.
Great.
We have a motion and a second. Are you ready for vote? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Radner,
Yes.
Councilmember Weiss,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Burns,
Yes.
Councilmember Edgar,
Yes.
and Mayor McClellan.
Yes, motion carried. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, 14E is a coronavirus update. As of yesterday at 5 o'clock, the City of Oak Park in the 48237 zip code had 57 total deaths and 536 total cases. Our rate of infection has slowed dramatically, and 1 month ago we had 42 deaths. A month later we have 57. So the rate of death, thank God, has slowed rapidly as well. We did just get word of the governor's executive order 2020-110 today, around noon today. And this executive order basically allows our society to open back up. And that includes the City of Oak Park's operations that are currently closed. This essentially gives us a green light now to begin formulating plans to reopen. Our next recovery team meeting is this Thursday, council members, and I intend on having these discussions with the members of that committee and then coming back at the next council meeting, which will still be on Zoom, might be our last on Zoom as a matter of fact, and providing some further direction. If we stick to the resolution that council has already approved, it would mean that we would possibly be opening to the public a week after we are allowed to reopen on June 8th, which would mean we'd be opening to the public on, I think that's June 15th, if I'm not mistaken. Are there any questions or comments? We had a really nice testing event for the public and for our employees last Friday in the community center of the parking lot of the community center. And I actually took the test myself. And I have to say, if you haven't had the test with the swab up your nose, not pleasant. I don't know that I could do it again. But there were right around, I think it was around 200 people that were tested that day. And it was a Wayne State Physician Group and Ford Motor Company sponsored event. But just wonderful volunteers, and it's very much appreciated. So we're awaiting the results for that. Are there any questions that I can maybe answer, council members, regarding coronavirus?
Yeah, did that testing take place like maybe 2 weeks ago on a Friday?
It was actually this past Friday.
Okay, well, what was going on last Friday? Around 10:30, 10 o'clock?
There
was a long line.
That must have been Wednesday. Do you think it was a Wednesday possibly? Because Forgotten Harvest gives away food from Wednesday morning from 9 to 12. And there is usually a long line. That might have been what you saw.
Yeah, it was a line from Oak Park Boulevard almost all the way down Coolidge to the shopping center where Little Caesars is.
Yep, that's exactly what it was.
Okay.
But yeah, this testing event was this most recent past Friday. So the food donations occur on Wednesday mornings.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any further questions, council members?
City manager, I have a question.
Yes.
Two questions actually regarding the two things you just said. Are there any future events to hold any other testing events at the community center? And also, do we know how long the Forgotten Harvest distribution is going to continue at the community center moving forward?
I'm gonna turn that over to Director Maroney to answer that part of it. Kim, do you want to answer that? And I'll take the other part here in a minute.
Yeah, in regards to Forgotten Harvest, their initial plan was to continue their operation until the governor rescinds their orders. I haven't gotten a confirmation from them yet this afternoon since it was just done a few hours ago, but more than likely it'll probably only be maybe 1 or 2 more weeks and then they'll stop that distribution. But we'll get that information out as soon as I get confirmation from Forgotten Harvest.
Thank you. As far as other testing opportunities, right now, I do not know of any additional testing opportunities, but obviously the testing facilities on Greenfield, the county is sponsoring on Greenfield. And of course, the state fairgrounds are still available. Testing has become much more widespread and not just limited to essential workers and first responders. So, you know, it's becoming more widespread, but this was a one-off. And again, I'm not sure if there's going to be another event like it, but certainly if there is an opportunity, we're going to pounce on it because I think it was a great event. Unless there are other questions, I'm going to turn it over to 14F to our city clerk, Ed Norris, to talk about the election. There's a lot going on with the election.
Thank you, City Manager Tungate. I thought it would be a good idea just to briefly talk about the upcoming election. one of the questions I've gotten recently is, are we continuing with a regular election on August 4th? And the answer is yes. At this point, we're proceeding with having all 16 precincts in 10 locations open and ready to go on August 4th. That being said, the state of Michigan, and of course we are encouraging, considering the pandemic, to vote absentee. That's the preference. And so I would just like to talk about that and focus on that a little bit. First of all, every member, every registered voter who was on our permanent absentee list was mailed an AV application recently, and the others are being mailed an AV application by the state of Michigan. So every registered voter should have received or will be receiving an absentee ballot application. I get a lot of questions about the application, in the sense that individuals think that they've already done that. And I just want to remind everybody that every election is required to have an AV application signed to receive the ballot. So, and this is no exception. The AV ballots for this cycle do have both August and November to be checked. So in this particular case, it does cover both elections. If you haven't, voters haven't received one and want one, there's multiple ways to have an AV application. Our office can be called and we can mail you one. They're on the website. They can be printed out and signed and returned. The state of Michigan has that on their website. You can Google AV application and print out a PDF and sign it and return it to us. They can be mailed with a regular stamp, or we encourage you to drop by and use it in the drop box, which is out in front of City Hall. That's our preference. You don't have to come into the building, even when we're open here in the next couple of weeks. So that is what I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on.
Thank you so much. How many precincts, are all the precincts open for the August primary?
Yes, we're required to have whenever there's a state election, we're required to have all precincts going. We can't consolidate anything. So
Now, and if you don't want to request a ballot for each election, or you can get on the permanent list and then a ballot request is mailed to you, correct?
Everyone that's on our list, that is correct. We send a AV application before that election.
So if I'm not on the permanent list and I would like to, how do I do that?
Well, there are two ways. There's a link on the website that can be done, or simply call our office. We just need the request to put you on. Now, the applications that are being sent from the state of Michigan actually do have a box on that. So in future elections, you can, if you'd like to be on the AV list, permanent list, that box can maybe checked. So that's an easy way as well. So we really encourage, given the pandemic and everything, this is certainly the way to do it. Michigan has a great way to vote by mail, which is through the absentee voting process.
And if you don't want to vote by mail, you can come and drop the ballot off when you get it into the box in the front of the City Hall, correct?
Oh, absolutely. The ballots, I will remind you too, the ballots for August will be mailed to you the last week of June. That's when those will be ready and will be going out. And yes, once you've completed the application or the ballot and signed the envelope, we should certainly encourage you to drop them by and put it in the box out front. Absolutely. Save some postage.
Right. And then you're sure it's received if you put it in that box.
Absolutely.
Don't have to worry about the mail being slow. I would recommend that everybody who would like to, young moms, busy people working, get on the absentee ballot list. It is a very convenient way to vote. We are.
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I had a few questions, if that's all right.
About the election. Any further questions about the election?
A resident reached out to me today because he received an absentee ballot application for the prior owner of his home, and he was wondering what he should do about that. If he should just toss it, if he should bring it into the city, if he should put it back into the mail with like saying person no longer lives here. City Clerk, do you know what someone should do if they receive a ballot application for someone who does not live at their residence?
We can, it would be nice to just write a note on that and drop it by that. And then we put that individual on a, what's called a cancellation countdown to be removed from the road. We have to have some verifying information to actually take them off of the roll, but it could be that person hasn't registered to vote anywhere else either. So, but that's the answer to that.
Okay, so he should write a note on it and drop it off in the box in front of City Hall.
That's right.
Okay.
Well,
Thank
while
you.
he's there, he can sign up for his own absentee ballot.
I think he has his own too, but
Okay.
he's being honest and not voting twice. So my other question too is, if you are a first-time voter in this election, are you able to vote absentee, or do you have to have registered in person to vote absentee?
No, there's that requirement does not exist anymore. There is an ID requirement, but that is not the case. You do not have to. You don't have to vote in person anymore.
Okay, and I have one more question.
Mm-hmm.
So I received my AV application in the mail as well, and as you said, check either for just August, just November, or for both. If a voter requested just August, are they going to get another application after the August election for the November election, or will that be the only one they receive?
This will be the only one they receive unless they request it.
Okay, so if somebody requested to vote absentee in August, not check the November box and change their mind later, they'd have to contact the city to get that application sent to them.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Mayor, I just have one question. So
Yes,
is there
Councilmember Edgar.
is there a deadline by which you need to submit your application to vote in August?
You can actually, the deadline is basically 4 o'clock of the day before the election.
To get your application for an AV ballot?
No, that would be to receive your ballot. Are you talking about a deadline to submit the application?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
That would again be all the way up until the day before the election. So but obviously the sooner the better.
Right. Okay.
Okay, Madam Mayor, members of council, that completes the city manager report for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager Chungate. Next is call to the audience, and we have Director Crystal Van Vleck dealing with.
All right. Hello. So what we're going to do is anyone who's joining us not on the phone, I think we only have one person on the phone. So if you're joining us via Zoom, we're going to ask you to use the raise your hand feature. You should find it at the bottom of your screen. And that's how we'll call on people, and then we'll unmute you as we call you. So if you'd like to participate in public comment. It's a 3-minute time limit, just like it would normally be at a council meeting. And again, just use the raise your hand feature. If you're having trouble at all with the raise your hand feature, go ahead and you can use the chat box to let us know, and we'll help you out. Right now, it looks like I've got a thumbs up from Mr. Ken Sherman. I think he would like to speak. So Ken, I'm gonna unmute you right now.
Hello, good
Hello.
evening. I wanted to know, I know you're meeting Thursday about the plans for the city reopening. Are you anticipating that the library might reopen sometime next week?
Madam Mayor, do you want me to?
Yes, please.
Well, you know, that is one of the precarious things in the latest order, is that it did allow for libraries to open on June 8th as well. So as of right now, I cannot answer that intelligently until not only have we had a chance to look at it on Thursday as part of our internal meeting, but then also working through the library board. It is possible the library would open at the same time as the other city facilities, including City Hall, but right now I just don't know. It's too early to tell.
Okay, does anyone else want to participate in public comment? Just use the raise your hand feature. Again, if you are having trouble with that, you can use the chat. Okay, I don't see anybody, Madam Mayor. We do have one call-in on the phone. I'm gonna unmute you, whoever this person is who called in, because they don't have the raise your hand feature. So I'm gonna unmute them real quick. And whoever is joining us via phone, if you do have a comment, feel free to speak now.
Yes, hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good evening, Mayor, City Manager Tungate, and City Council people. One thing I want to do, my name is Mrs. Russell. I'm in the 24,000 block of Kenosha Street. I want to commend, first off, I believe I heard Kim Maroney was on the phone. I want to commend her for everything that she's done in the city over the years. I mean, she just took it by storm with all of the new business that she's brought into the city. So I'm grateful for that. Took a while, but she's just nailing it constantly. Number two, I would like to also commend the officer that I heard about, Mr. Eric Sanders. I heard about the story. It really brought me to tears. It opened up some really heart-wrenching things that I've heard about and seen here in the city. So my heart goes out to him, and I commend him for all of his great work, because as we all do know, even in the midst of this pandemic, there's been a lot of sadness going on, craziness as well. And these are the type of officers that we need on our force here in Oak Park, Michigan, just to be true allies, utilizing good leadership and representing the people, just in the city of Oak Park, but just being good officers overall. And, hopefully this type of thing will help advocate for more of that to be ongoing from now in this situation here, even with the COVID-19 going on and all of the protests and everything that's going on around the world right now. One other thing I wanted to speak on, if someone can answer this, and also thank you, Mr. Eric Tungate, for all of the updates and all of the things that you've done to keep the city residents and people abreast of what's going on. So I want to also thank you for that too. I've been watching you very closely as well. I know you came here just several years back, so exceptional job on all of the things that you've done, because I've been here for quite a long time myself. Last but not least, just to hint on the things that's going on in terms of violence, guns, racial inequities, and different things like that. It's kind of heart-wrenching. I actually came onto this virtual meeting because I had actually experienced a few things here myself in Oak Park. A couple years back, I did report them. Being a woman, this kind of brought me to tears, just hearing about the Officer Sanders, what he's done, and the recent people that's been getting hurt and being killed from some of these acts. I really want to call out for help from the mayor and yourself, City Manager Tungate, to help implement some type of transparency within even the police department here, and also the city offices. There has been some incidents too that I've experienced. I've had to report just with people just not displaying good customer service when you go in, just being
Ma'am,
really.
I hate to interrupt, but it's a 3-minute time limit, and I appreciate all.
I'm sorry, Mayor McClellan. I thought I'd been watching it. I didn't think it was a whole 3 minutes. I was almost finishing out.
It's 3 minutes.
I'm sorry.
I was just saying I put the time. I've been putting the timer on for every public comment, so I can confirm it's been 3 minutes.
Okay, yeah, I was almost finished with my sentence, so.
If you would like, you can call the city manager in the morning. Appreciate your input this evening.
Thank you.
Is there anyone?
Okay.
Thank you.
And I think I haven't seen any other hands raised to speak. But we can give it one more second if you'd like, Mayor. But no one else has raised their hand to speak.
All right. That will put us into comments from the council, call to the council. And we'll start Mayor Pro Tem Burns.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Please be safe and please dress accordingly, as the summer is not quite here yet. And be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Redner and your attractive associate.
Do it now.
Good night.
Good night.
Oh, good work. Good work. Councilmember Weiss.
I don't think I got that. Just to expand on Mayor Pro Tem's comments, while you're dressing accordingly, make sure you are also accessorizing with PPE, proper PPE and masks, especially if you're going out in public. And I also just want to say, as a teacher and someone who works with teenagers, I know, that obviously there's a lot going on in the world right now, a lot of uncertainty. If you do have children, particularly younger children or teens, please be in discussion with them. I know a lot of my students are struggling with mental health right now, and amidst all of the uncertainty and everything that's happening. So make sure you check in with them and anyone else that you think may be struggling. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.
Thank you. Councilmember Edgar.
Thank everybody for joining us tonight. Just want to tell you that everytown.org, which has really been a wonderful organization, they back sane gun control laws. I'm proudly wearing orange, and I will wear orange whenever. I think that we've seen just from these riots in the last few days that guns and the ability to carry a gun has created such a mess and really exacerbated the violence. We really need to get behind good gun control laws in this country. So I would encourage everybody to get involved. Everytown.org is a wonderful organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are all appalled by watching what happened to George Floyd in Minneapolis. So it was good to have in the same week, Officer Eric Sanders saved 2 lives, because he represents the vast majority of law enforcement in this country. People who come to work every day with good intentions, do well for the community, help others without, as City Manager Tungate said, if it wasn't for the woman who noticed him running down the street and talked to him after when he was taking his equipment off, I wouldn't have known that this happened in Oak Park, this wonderful thing, this selfless act. All of our officers work quietly every day, confronting dangers and sadness in order to make this a safer city. So I would like to thank the Oak Park Public Safety Department, always reaching out in so many ways to bring our community together. And I was real briefly on Channel 4 with Alan Campbell and made the point that these are wonderful officers doing the right thing, and that's the majority of the people. And all are condemning murder that we saw and can't forget. So thank you for coming. This meeting is adjourned.